you're going to discover how to make beautiful drapes like these yourself without sewing machines, scissors, needles, or thread. I don't care if you can't sew a stitch, because the drapes you see don't have one stitch of sewing in them. Not one. You're going to create dazzling decor like this for your home in minutes, without patterns and without experience. That's right, without experience. It's so simple you just won't believe it. And best of all, you'll be able to create this stunning decor for peanuts compared to what you would have to pay for professionally made window treatments, and no one will know the difference. You can make all of these and much, much more with the amazing Drape. Let's begin by talking about fabric. What fabric can you use in the Drape? Well, that's simple. Almost any fabric will work. You can buy inexpensive remnants or the most luxurious prints. Price is not the issue, as Drape will make any fabric look like it's decorator quality. So don't think that high price means a better design. If you like the way the fabric looks, try it. In fact, you can even use ready-made bed sheets. The width of the fabric should be between 36 inches and 60 inches for the best results. The length you need will depend on the size of window to receive the treatment and the design you want to create. You should measure the width of the window and then the length down each side that you would like the drape to hang. In the front of your instruction book, you'll find a helpful chart that you can fill out to simply arrive at the length of fabric needed for any particular design. For example, when using a swag design, double the measurements and you'll have the length of fabric required. For balloon effects, add 18 inches of fabric for each balloon. Just look in the instruction book for guidance. When planning a window treatment, there are 3 basic areas to consider: the top treatment or valance, the corner treatments, and the side treatments. We're going to deal with all of them, but remember, the ideas you see in this video are just the beginning as far as Drape is concerned. Practice a few different styles with a piece of fabric first, and in a few minutes you'll begin to understand just how simple Drape is. This ruffle is one of the simplest designs to make, but one of the most effective. Here we have a swag design that drapes the fabric in beautiful folds across the Drape frame. This design is a wrap style and gives a simpler look to a treatment. It's perfect for a boy's bedroom where you don't want a lot of frills. Any of these top treatments can be made from one single fabric, or you can use 2 or 3 different fabrics, such as plain and patterns mixed together for a spectacular difference. Next, let's look at some corner treatments. Here we have a beautiful bow that can be used to complement your window treatment. This is a rosette. Isn't it gorgeous? It may look difficult to make, but once you try it, you'll amaze yourself at your own creativity. Here is a knot treatment. Again, simple to make once you understand just how Drape works. And if you make a mistake, just start over. Let's look at some of the side treatments you can make with Drape. Look at this beautiful bishop sleeve. It really does look as if a professional spent hours of sewing in creating it, doesn't it? Well, with Drape, there is no sewing. Here we have a cascade drop that can be any length you choose. You can even make cascade drops of different lengths at each side of the window. I think it's time to start on your very first creation with Drape. Your Drape is mounted on 2 simple hooks. Screw the hooks into the corner of the window. These will hold the frame in place with your finished design. If the window is wider than one Drape frame, you can join frames together, as you'll see later. If needed, you can also position a center hook to stabilize a longer frame. Once the hooks are in place, you can test hang the frame to make sure everything is ready. If you have verticals or blinds that stand out from the window, use longer hooks. These can be found in any hardware store. Now, let's make magic. We're going to start with a top treatment called the ruffle. Lay out your fabric on any flat surface with the center of the fabric in front of you. Gather up the center of the fabric and pull it through the center hole so that a loop of about 6 inches stands up. Now, work hole by hole out to each end of the frame. You're only working on the top row of holes, and you'll stop short of the last hole. We're saving that for the corner treatment. Try to make sure that each loop is the same size as the last, or your ruffles will become different sizes in the next step. Don't try to rush this process. Work carefully, hole by hole. Your patience will pay off later when the design is finished. Remember, try to keep each loop the same size as the one before it. Take care not to pull the fabric from a loop you've just made while making the next loop. Take your time and enjoy the creative process. Here is what it should look like when you've filled each hole. Now work loop by loop and fan and fluff the fabric loops into fluffy ruffles. Work one loop at a time. Insert your fingers and use one hand to pull the fabric through the thumb and forefinger of the other hand. This will make the fabric fluff up to its fullest. It's not hard work, and you don't have to be an artist to do it, but you'll begin to feel like one as you see the design begin to take shape. Don't spend too much time making every ruffle perfect. That can be done when the frame is hanging over the window and you're able to see how it looks. In a few minutes, your frame will be transformed. It will be covered in billowing fabric ruffles. Remember, if you don't like the look you've achieved, strip off the fabric and start again. There's no sewing, so it's easy to do. There, a beautiful ruffle ready for the end sections to be made. We're going to finish the ends of our ruffle valance with a beautiful rosette treatment. Pull the fabric through the end hole of the frame until you have a loop. Now fan out that loop and begin to form the rosette shape. You can see that the rosette is beginning to take shape, but it's a little flat. Here's a tip you can use on any corner treatment that will give it a three-dimensional look. Use those supermarket bags you've been collecting and stuff them into the pocket you've created. You can use tissue paper or any other material you have available. As you stuff the fabric, you continue forming the rosette. Trap a little air into the plastic bags and give more body to the rosette. Once the rosette is formed, you close the circle by pushing the ends of the fabric inside each other. The final step is to tighten the center of the rosette by pulling the material tight underneath the rosette. Just keep playing with it until the shape and size is correct. And there you have it, a perfect rosette without sewing a stitch. But the best way to show off your newfound talent is to hang the valance and add the final touches. Just think, you've made this thing of beauty all by yourself in less than 10 minutes and without sewing a stitch. Doesn't it look great? Now, let's create a swag effect. Lay out the fabric wrong side up and gather up the fabric into a bunch. Pull the bunched fabric through the end hole of the frame. Pull it all the way through. Repeat the process at the other end of the frame. Once the fabric is through both ends of the frame, you can begin to adjust it. Pull the bottom edge of the fabric down to create the swag effect. Play with the folds until you get them the way you want them. The top of the fabric can be put over the top of the frame and across the back. Don't go to too much trouble, as we'll do the final adjustments once the frame is hung. By now, you're beginning to see the full effect of this beautiful swag design. Don't worry about the ends. We're going to cover those next. Let's make a bow corner treatment. Pull a loop of fabric through the end of the frame. It's quite a long loop, as it will form both wings of the bow. Once the loop is pulled, flatten it out. Reinsert the end of the fabric through the frame and pull it over the center of the loop you've just created. This forms the center of the bow. Make sure that the center band of the bow is pulled tight. Now you can fluff out the wings of the bow. Use your fingers inside the fabric and pull the folds apart. Again, as you play with the fabric, you'll get the shape and size right. We will adjust it again once we've hung the frame on the window, but take a moment and get things looking right on the table. You'll be amazed that in minutes you've created a beautiful corner treatment like this. Now, let's try a wrapped effect. First, position your fabric so that you start the wrap at the right spot. Pull the fabric through the first hole in the top row of the frame, leaving enough fabric for the corner treatment you want to make and the side treatment you've selected. From that spot, begin to turn the fabric over the frame at a slight angle. Take it slowly and adjust each wrap to avoid putting a crease in the wrong place. Flatten each turn as you go. You'll get some twists in the loose end of the fabric, but these can be removed as you make each turn. The wrapped effect is good for a man or boy's room. They don't want a lot of frills in their window treatment, and the wrapped effect gives a simpler look. Don't try to rush the process. Take the time to arrange the fabric folds carefully. In this design, we want the folds smooth and flat. You could choose to have a ruffled effect with lots of folds in the fabric. It's up to you. You see how simple it is? It only takes a few minutes to wrap the entire frame. There. Now you're ready to do the end treatment. Let's give this frame a knot corner treatment. Start by pulling a loop through the end of the frame. Form a loop about 6 inches long. Next, take the end of the fabric and insert it through the loop you've just created. Pull all the fabric through the loop. Once it's inserted, you can begin to tighten the loop. You'll see the knot start to develop. Play with the fabric until the final look is what you want. Remember, the final touches will be added after we hang the frame on the window. There it is, a classic knot corner treatment that looks like it took hours to do. Now it's time to hang the frame and start work on the side treatments. It simply drops into place on the hooks. We're going to make a bishop sleeve. Take the very end of the fabric and insert it through the lower hole on the end of the frame. Pull the fabric all the way through until a loop hangs at the height you want the bishop sleeve to hang. Play with the fabric until it falls the way you want it to. If you'd like to add more dimension to the sleeve, simply add tissue to the pouch and form the shape you want. In no time at all, you'll have formed the finished side treatment. Design a Drape will add a professional look to any window. You'll be amazed at how simple it is to create stunning styles like these. Aren't they gorgeous? You can make any of these without experience and without sewing a stitch. Remember, there are no rules to design a drape, so it's your decision as to when the design is finished. You may decide it looks too plain and needs a contrasting colored fabric added to the design. Or you could decide you hate it, strip it off, and start over. We are confident you'll love it, and so will your friends and family. Design a Drape is as flexible as your imagination. If you want to work on a small window and need to cut the frame, use wire cutters like these to reduce the length of the frame. Just cut through each strand until the two parts separate. You can then overlap the two pieces to achieve the length you need and join them together with the cable ties. Don't worry that the joint doesn't look pretty. It will be completely hidden by the fabric. Pull the cable ties tight and snip off the ends. There you have a custom length frame, but here's another idea. Why not mount the frame bowed like this? It will give your window a wonderful three-dimensional look. For big windows, you may need to join two or more frames together. Lay them out and overlap them to the required length, then simply use cable ties to lock them together. You can join 2, 3, even 4 frames this way. You'll have a sturdy frame that's custom-made to any window in your home. These frames can be mounted anywhere. For example, you can mount them on a wall above a bed as part of a headboard treatment, or over the shower curtain as a fancy shower valance. You'll come up with dozens of ideas for Design a Drape. Here are a couple of questions we get asked about Design a Drape. How can I clean my drapes when they need it? Well, that's simple. Just strip off the fabric. Remember, there's no sewing involved, and the fabric comes right out. Then you clean the fabric and remake the design. How can I get more supplies of Design-A-Drape? Well, you can either look in your favorite retail store or write to us here and we'll be happy to supply you. Our address is on the screen. Many people ask if they can appear in our national television infomercials advertising Design-A-Drape. The answer is yes, if your designs are unique or spectacular enough to be of interest to our viewers. If you'd like to be considered and you have a video camera, just set it up in front of your Design-A-Drape creation and tell us how you did it and what you think of the Design-A-Drape. Send your tape to this address. Remember, by sending us the tape, you are giving your permission to use it on television, and we cannot return your tapes. We hope you've enjoyed this instructional video on Design-A-Drape. Good luck and happy creating.